afternoon. Welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. You know about this show. You watch it every Monday and every Wednesday. And today we want to talk about Black History Month, which I think Black history should be celebrated every day, not just the month of February. But today we're going to talk to Daphene McFerren, who is the director for the Benjamin Hooks Institute for Social Change. She's going to be our guest in the first half hour to talk about what they're doing at the Institute and some events that she has coming up that you might be interested in. I know I am. The second half hour of the show, we're going to have Faith Morris, who is the Director of Marketing, Communications, and Governmental Relations for the National Civil Rights Museum. She's going to talk about what's going on at the museum. And then I want to hear from them in terms of, we constantly talk about history. I want to know if Daphene and Faith think that as African Americans, we're making progress. If all of the fight, specifically the civil rights fight that our forefathers had, our right to vote, our right to live where we want to, our right to, eat in whatever restaurant we want to. I mean, have we really made major gains in this country? We're going to ask them about that as you're watching Dialogue with Deidre. We'll be back in a moment.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Hello, friends. I'm concerned about the health of our African American community. According to the American Heart Association, our rates of high blood pressure in the U.S. are among the highest in the world. And diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and smoking are causing us to suffer and die from stroke at alarming rates. In 3 John 2, the Bible says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Visit powertoendstroke.org and become empowered to take care of your health. You are the power to end stroke.
Wow, Teller Brown, your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Chevy Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call to ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.
And now let's take some questions from the public.
Mr. Chairman,
Why do we keep cutting back on education?
Governor, you want to take that question?
Mr. Chairman, let's give this one to the Senate Majority Leader.
Since this matter was taken up in AB 3712, I think it best if I defer to the Assembly Majority Leader.
Actually, pursuant to Department of Education statutes, the State Secretary of Education would be more qualified to answer. Mr. Secretary.
My legal team has advised me not to comment at this time, so I'll humbly refer to our State Superintendent of Schools.
Pass. Definitely pass. Okay, County Superintendent.
Well, young lady, it's just too complicated.
Can you tell me who's responsible for my education?
That is a good question. Governor?
Repeat the question, please.
I don't see why I can't get an answer from
You're asking a lot of difficult questions.
Oh, she sure is.
Who are you?
Well, I'm the governor.
What is this?
Your 2 minutes are up!
Stop the circus. Contact your legislators at thisbudgetblows.com.
Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. We love to hear from our viewers. You can reach out to us on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page or email me at deidre@deidremalone.com. It is Black History Month, and we spend this month talking about and paying tribute to African Americans that have done great things for this country. You know, Daphene McFerren, the director of the Benjamin Hooks Institute for Social Change, is my guest today, and she's doing great work over at the University of Memphis. Daphene, welcome to Dialogue with Deidre.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I want to know, what are you doing over there? I mean, I hear about it. I have actually participated in one of the programs, I believe when you had Julian Bond come to Memphis. So you're doing great work there at the university. Talk to me about the Benjamin Hooks Institute.
The Hooks Institute is named after civil rights icon and Memphis native Benjamin Hooks. And our mission is teaching, studying, and promoting civil rights and social change. We try to continue his legacy of service to others through our work. And our work is both historical in nature, in that we do preservation of civil rights history, but it's also affirmative in the sense that we create programs that are intended to engage community members.
Wonderful.
So, for example, the preservation part of it would include our documentaries. We premiered in April 2012 the documentary on Ben Hooks at the Orpheum Theater.
That's right.
And that documentary has been accepted for broadcast by one of the largest public television stations in the country.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but as you're not creating documentaries, they can go on and on and on. So
might take a minute.
Right. So we have some additional editing to do, but we're close to finishing that. What brought me to the University of Memphis was working on a documentary called Freedom's Frontline, Fayette County, Tennessee. And that documentary is now owned by the University of Memphis.
But isn't that personal for you?
Absolutely.
Because you come from a family of civil rights activists in Fayette County. Let's talk about that.
So I was not born in Memphis. I'll explain. I was born in Memphis because my parents could not use any medical facilities in Fayette County because they were blacklisted.
Right.
But I am from Fayette County, Tennessee. And in 1959, my father, John McFerren, went to a trial of a black man, Burton Dotson, who had been accused of killing a white deputy sheriff. And Burton, the shootout occurred in 1940, right? And this is before my father went into military service in World War II. And as a result of the shootout, a white deputy was killed, but the black community concluded that he was killed by friendly fire from the other white deputies because they had gone out really to lynch him. And Burton Dotson had become a legend in the community because he had stood up for his life. And between the time of 1940 and 1959, my father and his best friend, Hartman Jameson, went off to World War II. And as you know, a lot of the World War II veterans came back and became military civil rights activists.
That's right.
Because he said, if I'm going to fight for the United States, I'm certainly going to fight for my rights here in this country.
Because we need them.
Exactly. So at Burton's trial in 1959, James Estes, who was also known in Memphis and was involved in the NAACP, was representing Dotson. My father went to the trial to, one, see his staff sergeant, because Estes was a staff sergeant in World War II, and also to hear the outcome of Dotson's trial. He found out that there were so few blacks registered to vote that there were not a pool of blacks from which to choose a jury from to try Dotson, this black man. And Estes says, told my father, you need to work with me to start an organization to encourage blacks to vote. And my father did, not expecting to be retaliated against by the white community, because he did. And so the retaliation took place in that Fayette County was a farming community where blacks were sharecroppers. And at the time, in 59-60, about 70% of the county was African American. So those sharecroppers who registered to vote were promptly evicted from the farms of white landowners because they exercised the right to vote. And my father became father and mother Viola McFerren, were two of the prominent leaders of that movement. And their mission was to get blacks registered to vote. And then in the 1960s, they took an aggressive action in terms of having a civil rights agenda to desegregate schools in Fayette County, to create economic parity and opportunities for African Americans in Fayette County, to protest retaliation or even physical abuse by whites of African Americans in Fayette County. And in fact, the New York Times called the Fayette County movement in 1969 one of the longest sustained civil rights protests in the nation.
Because it lasted how long?
Well, most of the sort of newspaper activities happened between 1959 and 1970.
Okay.
But voter registration continued into the 70s. And when the Vietnam War started, that war sort of took the headlines away from the civil rights movement. So looking at watching my parents and now reviewing the historical literature, that movement went well into the 70s, but I would contend the movement continues today.
I agree with you.
We have different issues that do require approaches that are innovative, creative, but it does require that the black community address some of the hardships that we as people of color are facing. And I'd like to say it's just not a black issue, it's a collective issue. What I mean collectively is that everybody is responsible in this country to ensure the rights of others.
Right.
And when you deprive someone of their right or say you're better than someone else because of their color, it becomes a problem for the entire country. So it is a problem, the issue of how African American men are treated by current events. You know what they are, Ferguson, Martin, Garner. The issue of the incredibly high incarceration rates of African Americans is a very troubling issue that deeply impacts those who are incarcerated, the families they come from, the families they don't create, and the economic income that they don't create because they cannot participate in American life.
That's right. It's something to think about, and I'm 52, so I was born in 62. And to think about the 52 years ago, 55 years ago, that African Americans were still in a situation where they had socioeconomic challenges like we do today.
Absolutely.
We have an opportunity to vote, but we don't.
Exactly.
We have an opportunity to become entrepreneurs, work for ourselves. A lot of us don't. We have an opportunity to vote, and we don't, to elect people who have like agendas that will be beneficial to not only African Americans, but people who have needs, and we don't. What is the social change aspect of the Institute? What are you hoping to do?
Well, we're at a university, and we do have an academic and research focus. So let me give you some examples of some of the things that we've done. Black and Hispanic children have the highest drowning rates in the nation. And we don't really know why. And as you know, in 2009, we had 2 drowning deaths of African American youth here at Memphis City Pools. So in response to that, the Hooks Institute, working with one of our board members, Anthony Norris, has supported this program through research called Splash Mid-South. And Splash Mid-South goal is to teach minority children how to swim.
That's wonderful.
And we have partnered with Tiger Swimming, the YMCA, the City of Memphis, and Methods of Honor. And we're all partners in this. And since Splash Mid-South started in 2009, we've had over 6,000 children go through the water safety instruction program and receive some swimming lessons. And the program has been recognized nationally by organizations. And Anthony Norris, who's a board member, has gotten an award for the program. So when we do the research on the parents and children who participate, let me say that there's such a demand in Memphis for Splash Mid-South that we had to close the waiting list because we don't have right now. Anthony doesn't have the pool, and the manpower to handle the demand.
But it's a wonderful, thing that there's a need.
Absolutely. And what we do,
they want to participate. Their children to participate.
They are aggressive about wanting their children to participate, and they should be. And so one of our disappointments is that we can't accommodate all the demand. And what we do is when these children and parents come in is that we assess why they're taking lessons, why they don't swim, what their attitudes are about swimming, also whether people fall into certain income categories. So for example, I would conclude just roughly that our research shows that, and this is not news to anyone, you're more likely to swim if you're from a middle class family, because that is where you have the resources to access swimming. We don't know why there seems to be a gap, and this is anecdotal, that I've observed between those who are, I would say, 50 and younger and those who are 60 and older. Because the people I talk to who are 60 and older can swim. And the ones who are under 50 can't. But you find more of the responses that there's an issue with swimming. And I've questioned why. And some of the responses have been that perhaps the low swimming rate has to do with the closing of pools in response to integration during the 1960s. Now, we don't know that for sure, but we're trying to ascertain why this gap exists. So that's one example of community outreach. On campus, during the last presidential election, we held an on-campus voter registration drive.
Wonderful.
And we registered about 300 students in 6 hours. And we had the students go out with their Hooks T-shirts, because we have our little branding image of the hands of different colors. And they went out and completed the registration form for students. And I think that was one of my most satisfying projects, because students of all races, I don't know what their political affiliations were, and I didn't care because that's not what we were doing, but they came in, they wanted to know how to register to vote. We were trying to register people here in Memphis, and we got students from Mississippi and Arkansas going, how do we register? So we could go online and help them figure out how to complete the forms.
That's wonderful.
So that's an example of community outreach. Another project that we have underway is the Hooks Institute African American Male Initiative.
Let's talk about that, because I know you have an event coming up too associated with it.
Right. So the African American Male Initiative actually started before even the concept before these recent events involving police issues with our black youth. And we recognize that our black men especially needed additional help in getting through the university experience. And the University of Memphis is very much like other state universities across the nation in its graduation rates of African American men. So if you look at the categories of men, of successful graduation rates, the people with the most successful rates are white men, then white women, then black women, then black men. And for Memphis, when you have low graduation rates and you have a population of such a large African American population, and you're graduating with such low percentages of African American men, it affects the social fabric of the community.
It does.
These men are not prepared to enter into the workforce. These men are not prepared to lead families, and the critical thinking skills that higher education helps to develop is not there. And I'd like to say college may not be for everyone. I recognize that. So what's important to us is that people go somewhere,
right,
and get some skills.
Some additional education.
Right. And if you're familiar with this book called Millionaire Next Door, it shows that people who are in the trades, for example, your plumbers who end up being the millionaires who live in average communities. So there are a number of great entrepreneurial opportunities for our African American men that don't necessarily come out of the 4-year college experience, and that should be encouraged. But for those we have them in college, we want to get them out successfully. So this initiative is focused on that. So because the Hooks Institute is funded through our programs, donor and grant dollars, we do receive in-kind space from the university and some salary assistance, which is crucial as well. But the funding for programs primarily comes through grants and private donations. And on April 9th, we're having this gala called Empowering, Supporting, and Strengthening African American Men. And at that gala, we have already sent out nominations to, I think, maybe 75 organizations or more in Memphis, asking them to nominate African American men who are doing incredible things between the ages of 18 and 40 in 7 categories. And those categories can range from the arts, the healing arts, which include medicine, civic engagement, political engagement, education, outstanding African American male teachers, because we want to recognize them to put on a mantle the great work many of our African American men are doing, but with no recognition.
And to just be able to showcase them,
yes,
I think is incredible, because normally it's, when you're 45 and older, you start getting accolades. And so from 18 to 40, I think that's a wonderful thing.
We had to stop the timeline somewhere. I was fine going up there.
Are you getting recommendations or people?
Yeah, we already have.
That's nominations. That's wonderful.
We already are. And so that night we want to highlight them as a start to the then academic year initiative, which will include having in this program African American male students and their parents.
That's wonderful.
Successfully get through the University of Memphis and see if we can impact positively their educational experience and their educational and career outcomes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So those are examples of some of our community outreach initiatives.
So if someone's interested in attending the gala, how can they reach out?
They can call the Hooks Institute. So our number at the Hooks Institute is 678-3974. In addition, you can go to our website, and as of March 1st, people can purchase tickets for the event. And our website, I tell you the simple way to do, if you want to go to Google and put in Ben Hooks Institute, it will pull it up. And you also can go directly to our website by typing in memphis.edu/Ben Hooks, and that will pull it up as well. So tickets will be available to public. You can purchase tables, and if people are interested in sponsorships, they can call us at the Institute.
That's wonderful. What else? Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers before you get out of here?
Well, what I would like to share is that the Hooks Institute is hopefully a catalyst to encourage people to think about the issues that affect ordinary people here in Memphis. And that some of the issues that are facing our community, it's just not the African American community, because we're all a community.
Right.
If we're mistreated, it negatively impacts the democratic process. If we as Black people don't participate in the democratic process, it is a negative reflection on us, and we can't shape our destiny. We must become more civically engaged. We must become more aware. And I hope that people will go to our website and look at some of our events to be part of the consciousness of awareness, create awareness and consciousness of things people can do. And so sometimes I get from people, they are discouraged by what they see today and the issues of in Black America today. So as you may know, Michelle Alexander in her book, The New Jim Crow, points out that there are more men of color incarcerated in U.S. prisons today that were enslaved during the 1800s. So these are very discouraging facts. Nevertheless, I want our community, and I mean Black and white community, to be aware, especially those who are supportive of causes for equality, that it was 200 to 300 years of social activism to end slavery.
That's right.
And it didn't end overnight, but African Americans as a people have made a phenomenal progress in this nation in terms of acquiring civil rights, in terms of elected officials, in terms of upward mobility, just in terms of participating in American life. And one of the great things I see when I've traveled abroad is how much aware foreigners are aware of the contributions of African Americans to the history of American democracy and how appreciative they are of it. And I was telling someone at the university yesterday, I was in Berlin in January of 2012. Now, that's probably not the right time to be in Germany. It was cold. But I was so shocked by how interested they were in our president and how blacks fare in this country. I was surprised by the amount of information on Black History Month from the U.S. Embassy, more than I've ever seen here in Memphis, United States. And we had yesterday at the University of Memphis a lecture by Daniel Matlin, who wrote the book On the Corner, and he's from London. And I was explaining to him some of the issues in America, and he knew them as well as anybody off the street. And I said, I'm so surprised that you know this stuff so well. He says, well, Black culture is very important to us in London, and we study it, how it unfolds in the U.S. So I say to people who are listening that let's continue the struggle and also be aware that we need to work collectively in a civic way. That the roads, the judges, the elections, the conditions in which we operate with our businesses and our careers is within the civil sphere. Right. And that we need to make efforts to make sure that that's a place where all people, regardless of color, can actualize their potential. And so that's what we're trying to do at the Hooks Institute.
Daphne, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. You've given us a whole lot to think about. And my hope is that people who are watching this show will become engaged and realize that, change can only come if we all come together and we make it happen.
That is, in essence.
That's
the essence of it, yes.
We make it happen.
Make it happen.
So we'll have you come back because we want to hear more about what's going on at the Hooks Institute and what you've got going on.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, we'll have you back on Dialogue with Deidre.
Okay.
You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. I'm Deidre Malone. We'll be back in a moment.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Hello, friends. I'm concerned about the health of our African American community. According to the American Heart Association, our rates of high blood pressure in the U.S. are among the highest in the world. And diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and smoking are causing us to suffer and die from stroke at alarming rates. In 3 John 2, the Bible says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Visit powertoendstroke.org and become empowered to take care of your health. You are the power to end stroke.
Wow, Teller Brown, your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Chevy Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call to ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.